Okay. So I'm one of those people, and there's going to be people that's going to want to warn people against going off to Ukraine. I know you want to support and everything, but if you um, if you know better than to go over there and you want to advise, you're going to be demonized, and it's not like I'm even for or against Russia. It's not gonna, but for those people that have been in the position to to manipulate for long enough, they don't know anything else. And when it comes to them, they're not talking about us anymore. When it comes to them, they have a villain in their mind that they is their bread and butter. Don't be their bread and butter, because you would be like, think about it. If you're going over to the Ukraine to support them, are you going into the cauldron, or are you going to attack from outside the cauldron? Is anybody leading those units into Ukraine even going to answer that question for you? Because those are corridors that they expect a certain amount of conscripts to come through and mercenaries to come through, and they control it. So even before you sign up, they already know that they get you. They already know that they're going to be the ones getting you, right? They'll filter you, weed out the ones they don't want, or give you one last chance to go back home before they tell you that if you run away, they're going to shoot you in the back, right? They'll give you that one last chance. They also controlled all of the media going in and out of there and everything. Obviously, it should be so obvious, right? And while you're thinking about Russia getting bogged down and everything, and they're not telling you about cauldrons and the tactics that the Eastern Europe that they do in Eastern Europe. Maybe not just Eastern Europe, maybe also in like other places, but other places like Bosnia. In Bosnia, they no in Chechnya, but they they surround you, and then they try to choke off all your supplies and everything, and it's just being conveniently omitted. And then it's easy to omit something when you place an unrational value on something happening that's not really happening, because isn't it obvious? Or look at what this is, what we already do know. If I'm telling you that this is what we do know, and then leading you the rest of the way, coaching your thought process, or just telling you what to think because of what's obvious that we already do know, then I can go so far as, it's just like, because people are going to feel some kind of way if you tell them not to go. Then if they got to snake you out, if they have to throw you under the bus because you gave them some advice, if they have to demonize you or compartmentalize you, you should just let them go. That's the only way they're going to change their mind. And if they don't get killed, they'll respect you. If they don't die, they'll respect you. You're never going to stop them from getting led, and they are a valuable commodity for those people that are, they won't talk to us anymore because we've seen through them. So we're not important anymore because we see through them. So they don't talk to us anymore, but they talk to the people that we're still trying to reach out to. You know what I mean? Like, they got their claws in all the monarch butterflies, and you might have a mother or a sister or somebody that in your family that is one. So that part is a little bit irritating. Then again, like, they're not men, so they probably won't go over there. They're the ones that are like, oh, I want to stand with Ukraine, all austerity, uh, trying to be brave and stunning and everything. But thank God that you're female and that they would never accept you over there, because then I don't got to worry about it. But whatever, you're brave, okay. You can encourage somebody else to lay down their life for a fool's mission over some coked up power broker, because you want to believe that he's the good guy and all this shit. None of them are good. And how are they just gonna always make that about you? You're trying to tell people that it wouldn't be weird if your barracks got blown up if you go over there. It wouldn't be weird if you go to Poland within range of Skander cruise missiles that you would get carpet bombed. You know what I mean? Because the people who are supposed to be looking out for you are using you as a optics, as a chess piece in the optics aspect of getting everybody sucked into a crisis where you don't know, but maybe the thing before that was so unthinkable is now what's on the menu. So it's like before, we always try to make sure that minimize the amount of Westerners that gets killed in a conflict. But now maybe it does something else. Like maybe it's more than an Easterner as far as what that can be used to create, or how that political capital can be spent. So all you cool guys are going to be the ones that they have to draw from, even though not all of you are going to want to go over there. You know what I mean? But it'd be better if you were female, because then there's less chance of being pressured to do, like, and maybe you're not just being pressured, like maybe you have a type of personality that only really thrives in high stress situations, or you're just into the tactical kind of boys club thing, and people like Lindsey Graham or somebody, they're going to be like the first ones to tell you you're making the right decision. They want a no-fly zone, and they want anti-aircraft, and they want to send planes in, and they what was the other thing that they wanted that was ridiculous? Peacekeeping forces. How the fuck is peacekeeping forces going to do anything but escalate? See what I mean? Nobody gives a fuck. It's all the slick bastards who are so full of care and love and light and shit. And since you're anti everything virtue, if you go against them, then all the lemmings helps them consolidate their power, and then they hide behind them. But they'll let y'all get blown the fuck up. For you to be wrong for the 10th time in a row and turn around with hubris, you know what I mean? Get straightened out by somebody who's not afraid to speak their mind, and then run back to the Gestapo or the last person who lied to you to see if the information is correct. You know what I mean? Or check with the last person who lied to you the most to see, and then you're straight. You're good, but don't fucking come back around because by that time you already talked too much mad shit. about me. It's not like you can come from a place that is actually divine. So you're just going to be like a crabs in a barrel tearing each other down. No wonder you want to run off to a fucking war zone to wax austerity. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's they're not going to appreciate you over there. The Ukrainians are not going to appreciate you over there even. They're looking at you like your death is worth more than my death. You know? Like 100 of us will get killed and it won't be mentioned, but 2 of you gets killed and it's going to be a big deal and it's going to be a bunch of bullshit. Look at all the people that are in those video clips that are actually undergoing trauma, post-traumatic stress, or things happening to them in videos. And then their message gets used to solidify the narrative that is against them the whole. And then we're just playing this tit for tat, knick-knack, fucking tit for tat game with their shit. Playing this tit for tat game with things that that you never had to live through or go through or can ever be about, but for the political capital to try to own. Like, I don't know if they're trying to own or rationalize or something, or censor, you know what I mean? They want to clamp down so that if your opinion is, if you're not totally against Putin in every way, like I'm not for Putin, but if you don't hate Putin, then, do you know what I mean? Like those like yuppies that you think are so nice, the pink hair and shit, will sit on you and they'll sit on your fucking, on your dungeon key. You know what I mean? Like you'll be like the key to unlock your cell, and they'll just be fucking sitting on it, busting farts, thinking that everything is sweet. They don't fucking care. And then those people that are going through it in Eastern Europe, they'll politicize your whole experience over there for whatever, you know, whatever they can turn into fucking avocado toast on avocados, whatever. It's just like cosmetic. You just rub it in your scalp, you just comb it in, and fucking gives you a nice shiny, sheeny, you know, glossy, like you're just like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll just wear this. You wear things on our sleeve, shit. It's not even our life. So I'm just getting this out the way so that I already said, so that when people do this shit and make me mad, I don't feel like I have to fucking say anything to them, because I already said my piece. I don't want to get sucked into that shit. I just don't want to get sucked into that shit. And you gotta be smart, like clever, to not get sucked into energy vortex, because this shit is poignant. It's poignant, and it's only not poignant, and we can only chop it up like and we can only, well, not, you know what I mean, chop it up as far as discussing, but like we can only pat ourselves on the back for having not having wrong thing, but then taking the easy, regurgitated, safe. Like, if you want to be safe, just don't show pictures of gore. Don't pass them pictures of gore around at work or something like that. But I mean, you don't have to be completely alienated. Isn't that how the Nazis are supposed to return? By the alienated masses, you know? And a lot of the masses had the vaccine recently, and a lot of the vaccine was saline placebo, because again, they didn't want to be liable for, like, they didn't want to have to go the direction of mRNA to make a vaccine, and they didn't want to be liable, and they thought it was a bad idea. So most people didn't get a vaccine. They got saline, and the people that got a vaccine, a lot of them had other problems, let's just say they had other problems, like Justin Bieber's wife or something like that, like strokes and shit. And then, if these things, like, this is the shit, right? If these type of things are happening to you, and I know that they're happening, right? You don't need sources because fucking it's verified because I've seen the videos, and it's not just somebody talking about this shit. Like, a lot of times I've seen correspondence of people coming back from, I'm quoting people like I'm quoting actually shit. That's the information they'll cover up. Like, you know what I mean? That's the one that they don't talk about. Do you know what I mean? But she might be a vegetable, or she might die or something like that. But we're not talking about that. Why? Because we're full of love and light. We don't talk about shit like that is dark and dim and comes from a place that's not a celestial. We don't relate things like that. We just tell you what'll carry us over political capital. We'll tell you what you can support without as much detail, or with, that's why they lie through omission, right? It's more powerful that way for them. All right, I mean, I can't affect any of that shit, though. That's just the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? If you wrote a thesis on galvanization and polarization for polarization in the Eastern Bloc in the 80s or the 90s or whatever like that, they flipped your shit and they don't care. They flipped your shit. They came at it half-stepping. First they were only talking about polarization, and then the other day they were like, oh, well, maybe we should be a little more thorough and we got to go back over and talk about galvanization. Oh, all right, then why don't you talk about reductive reasoning or something like that? Oh, come on, man. I thought you just invented that shit on your... I thought you just farted up that shit, and I didn't know that shit was for real. Like, so, okay, we're going to go back on this. We're going to go over this thorough, and we're going to flip your thesis, and then it's our idea. You're not even really sophisticated enough to even know about this shit or come up with it. So we're going to repurpose it, and we're going to give it to you as an excuse to make the situation worser. And you're talking about polarization. You know what I mean? Before it was galvanization for polarization, it was a pathology and extending the pathology to be able to study the pathology, except for the fact that you can't extend the pathology. The pathology escapes the control parameters and it gets out into the staph. There's nowhere else for the pathology to go to live but in the staph. And the staph goes home. They don't stay in the confines of that culture in a petri dish or in that scientific setting where unique iteration might occur, that you can say or point to something in the aggregate data to say that this has an effect or that has an effect, that you can look at it and analyze it. It's the staph. Then, because the staph might have taken on some psychopathy, or they might take on some aspect of ignorance to reason, for the purpose of developmental science. But because they have book smarts and developmental science doesn't mean that they're nice, and doesn't mean that they're reputable, and it doesn't mean that you're dumb if you don't have any. It's all pertaining to and with respect to the purpose of experiments and those control parameters, allowing for those unique iterations to make any sense. And then, you know what I'm saying? Or you could just become part of the experiment, and then they can just change the name of the experiment instead of ending it. If you want to get out of it, you have to question what's the purpose of experiment, or, because that experiment, by the nature of experiments, is that they have to come to an end, that they're temporary, just by the nature of what it is. So to keep it going, they have to change the name and give it back to you something else, and you accept it, but you're part of the pathology now. Because it's not a game. I'm not just playing with people because I feel some kind of way, or I want to like one side or one particular guy. I want to think that they're like one side of a crisis I want to like. What if there's no sides of a crisis to like? You're going to vote for evil? You've been prepped already to want to vote for evil, to have that, think that's normal. It's not normal. It's not even a choice, let alone normal. But just because, what I'm saying, you can do it. It wasn't a choice. It's just available as something you can do. But it's not really a choice. It's an illusion of a choice. Right? And what you're really doing is becoming fodder to be thrown at something like to even give an illusion, to give the illusion that we're in retreat when they're not actually in retreat, because you're looking at numbers and they mean, sometimes body counts doesn't win the battle. You know what I mean? So you take a high body count, you still lose. Come on, man. We already know this. You cause a high body count on the other side and you still lose. Like, duh hoy. How many times do we have to go through this? How many times, like, to see that it's not cut and dry and simple. If anything, if anything is cut and dry, that's how it isn't. That's how it turns out to not be, but it has to have the look, like, for now, like, not to make waves, to not upset the masses, to not they won't address the problem in society until they have levied accusation against you. So you, including myself, has to just reverse the field of thought, right? Because the perspective runs everything. And to have a consideration, we used to not have to do anything. You could just sit in soliloquy and silence and meditation and have a consideration, but then didn't it have to be shown? At some point in time, it comes to a place where this has to be shown, which means you have to make moves. You have to move. You have to get up and move in order to show a consideration, when at one point in time you could just have it. But for you to get up and make moves, you might have to drive a car. And then you're going to be putting carcinogens in the air. You're going to be driving down the road in a galvanized steel chassis, with a static envelope, which turns people into, like, uncaring, everybody becomes a piece of shit and everything, you're like, everybody's a tough person in their car, and they're all, like, it's like maybe once you figure out that your driving is not a danger to anybody else as much, then you figure you can lean on the gas a little bit more. You can get a little bit frustrated and want to speed up around people and take risks because you know how to drive. It's like if you're in a car with somebody who knows how to drive, they're pushing it. If you're in a car with somebody who doesn't know how to drive, they're being safe and everything, but I mean, they might go too slow or something like that and have be barreling down on them, a big Mack truck or something like that, and they think they're being safe or whatever. They, you know what I mean? Because they might step on the throttle instead of the gas and at a stoplight and run over somebody, then, you know what I mean, then you'll never see them smoking weed in the car or something like that. They'll be all focused and everything. But then when you become a good driver, then everybody's like piece of shit. When you're not a good driver, you're making sure that you don't kill anybody. But the risk is always there for a freak accident. For a freak accident. So the message is just appreciate that what is an effort to support or to create a hazard-free environment or something like that. Because when you're thinking, you're like, you know, have you been thinking like, I bet I'm gonna drop my phone down that manhole or something, and you're 5 steps away from the manhole. You know what I mean? But when you get up to the manhole and some shit, you're like preoccupied and everything, and you're doing everything like a kind of carefree, and then you drop your phone down the manhole like after you thought about it. Well, I don't know what nothing about anymore.